The classroom felt unnaturally still. No chairs moving, no papers turning. Every student was staring at the same place. The poor girl stood beside the teacher's desk, her hands clenched tightly in front of her, her shoulders stiff as if she were trying not to fall apart. The teacher stood inches away from her, arms crossed, eyes cold and impatient. "Say it," the teacher demanded. "Say it so everyone can hear." The poor girl swallowed hard. Her mouth was dry, her chest burning as if she had been holding her breath for too long. "I didn't do it," she whispered. The teacher slammed a paper onto the desk. The sound echoed through the room. "This test was submitted under your name, and the answers are identical to someone else's." The poor girl shook her head slowly. "I studied. I stayed up all night. I didn't cheat." The popular girl sat in the front row, her hands folded neatly on her desk. She didn't look at the poor girl. She stared straight ahead, pretending to be uncomfortable. A few students exchanged glances. The teacher turned toward the class. "She's been denying this all morning, refusing to take responsibility." She turned back to the poor girl. "This is your last chance," the teacher said quietly but firmly. "Confess, or this will become a much bigger problem." The room felt heavier with every second. The poor girl's vision blurred. She could feel tears pressing behind her eyes, but she didn't let them fall. "I didn't cheat," she said again, her voice trembling now. "Please." A short laugh came from the back of the room. Someone muttered, "Just admit it." The teacher sighed loudly, as if tired of wasting time. "We don't have all day." "Stand up straight." The poor girl obeyed. "Tell the class how you did it. Tell them how you cheated." The poor girl looked around. Desks, faces, eyes watching her like she was already guilty. No one spoke up for her. No one looked away. Her heart pounded so loudly she was sure everyone could hear it. Her knees felt weak. She thought of home, of her sister's voice, of being told again and again that she was a problem. Slowly, she opened her mouth, and before she could stop herself, she said the words they wanted. "I cheated." The room went completely silent. The teacher nodded once, satisfied. "There," she said, "that wasn't so difficult." The poor girl lowered her head as shame washed over her, hot and unbearable. But as she stared at the floor, something caught her eye. Under the popular girl's desk, a folded paper slid out and stopped near her shoe. The poor girl's breath caught. She recognized the handwriting. It wasn't hers. And in that moment, she understood something terrifying. She had just confessed to something she didn't do, but the truth hadn't disappeared. It was still there, waiting for the right moment to come out. The day had started quietly, too quietly. The poor girl arrived at school earlier than usual, her backpack heavier than normal, not from books, but from exhaustion. She hadn't slept much the night before. She had studied until her eyes burned. The test mattered, not because she wanted praise, but because failure always followed her home. She sat in her seat and reviewed her notes one last time. Across the room, the popular girl laughed with her friends, relaxed, confident. She hadn't opened a notebook once. When the test papers were handed out, the poor girl focused immediately. She read each question carefully. She took her time. She double-checked every answer. For once, she felt sure. When the bell rang, she turned in her paper and left the room quietly, her heart lighter than it had been in weeks. But that feeling didn't last. During lunch, she was called back to the classroom. The teacher stood by the desk, holding two papers side by side. "Sit," she said sharply. The poor girl obeyed. "These answers," the teacher said, tapping the pages, "are exactly the same." The poor girl frowned. "That's impossible. I didn't copy anyone." The teacher narrowed her eyes. "Then explain this." She slid the papers closer. The handwriting wasn't the same, but the answers were. The poor girl felt her chest tighten. "I studied," she said again. "I can explain every answer." The teacher didn't listen. "I've seen this before. Students like you think they're clever. Students like you." The poor girl looked down at her hands. "I didn't cheat," she whispered. The teacher sighed. "You're making this harder than it needs to be. Just be honest." The poor girl shook her head. That was when the teacher stood up. "We'll deal with this in front of everyone. Maybe then you'll stop lying." The poor girl's stomach dropped. As she left the room, she noticed the popular girl watching her from the hallway. Their eyes met briefly. The popular girl looked away first. Back in class, the poor girl felt the room changed the moment she entered. Whispers followed her to her desk. "She cheated. I knew it. She always acts innocent." She tried to breathe. She tried to stay calm. But the pressure was already closing in. And by the time the teacher called her to the front of the room, the outcome had already been decided. The poor girl returned to her seat, but she didn't feel like she was really there. Her hands were cold. Her thoughts moved too fast. The teacher began the lesson as if nothing had happened, but her eyes kept drifting back to the poor girl. Watching, waiting. The popular girl leaned toward her friends and whispered something. They laughed quietly, then stopped when the teacher glanced their way. The poor girl tried to focus on the board, but the words blurred together. She replayed the test in her head. Every question, every answer. Nothing felt wrong. Halfway through the class, the teacher stopped speaking. She picked up the two test papers again. "Look carefully," she said to the class. "This is why cheating is so obvious." She held them up. Some students leaned forward. "The answers are identical," the teacher continued. "The chances of that are extremely low." The poor girl raised her hand slowly. "I can explain," she said. The teacher ignored her. She memorized someone else's work. That's what happened. The popular girl shifted in her seat. For the first time, she looked uncomfortable. Her foot tapped the floor. Her smile was gone. The poor girl stood up without being told. "I studied. I can tell you how I got every answer." The teacher frowned. "Sit down," she snapped. The poor girl obeyed, her face burning. But something had changed. A few students exchanged looks. One of them whispered, She doesn't sound like she's lying. The teacher cleared her throat. We're not turning this into a discussion. The evidence speaks for itself. She placed the papers back on the desk. But as she did, one page slipped slightly. The poor girl noticed it immediately. The ink smudges, the pressure marks, they weren't the same. Her heart skipped. She leaned forward, trying to see more. At the front row, the popular girl's backpack was open, just enough to reveal loose papers inside. One corner stuck out. The same corner. The popular girl quickly pushed the bag closed with her foot. The poor girl's pulse quickened. It was subtle, but it was real. The teacher turned back to the board, continuing the lesson, but the tension didn't fade. It grew. The poor girl sat still, her mind racing. She didn't know how yet. She didn't know when. But for the first time that day, she felt it. Something didn't add up. And the truth was closer than anyone realized. The teacher stopped the lesson again. This time, she didn't pretend it was normal. "Stand up," she said, without looking directly at the poor girl. The poor girl's chair scraped softly against the floor as she obeyed. Her legs felt weak. The teacher walked slowly toward her desk and picked up the 2 test papers once more. "You've had plenty of chances," she said, "and I'm done waiting." She turned to the class. "This is exactly how dishonesty spreads," she said. "One lie turns into another." The poor girl felt every word like a weight on her chest. "I can still explain it," she said quietly. "Please." The teacher shook her head. "No," she replied. "What you can do now is take responsibility." She placed the papers on the desk in front of the poor girl. "Read your answers," the teacher said, out loud. The poor girl stared at the page. Her handwriting was there, but some answers weren't written the way she remembered. Her voice trembled as she began to read. Halfway through, she stopped. "That's not how I solved this one," she said. The teacher's eyes hardened. "Are you changing your story again?" she asked. The room held its breath. The poor girl looked up. "I know the answer," she said, "but I didn't write it like this." A murmur spread across the room. The popular girl's head snapped up. For a second, panic flashed across her face. The teacher noticed. She cleared her throat sharply. "That's enough," she said. "You're confusing yourself." She turned back to the poor girl. "You've embarrassed yourself long enough. Confess properly, or we involve the principal." The word hit hard. The poor girl's stomach dropped. She imagined the office, the phone call home, her sister's disappointment. Her hands shook. "I didn't cheat," she said one last time. The teacher leaned closer. "You're not helping yourself," she whispered. The poor girl looked around the room. Some students looked uncomfortable, others avoided her eyes. The popular girl stared straight ahead now, completely still. That was when the poor girl noticed it. On the popular girl's desk, tucked under a book, was a small folded sheet. The corner was torn, exactly like the one she had seen earlier. The poor girl's breath caught. It was the missing piece. The teacher stepped back and straightened. "We'll settle this now, once and for all." The room felt like it was closing in, and the poor girl knew what was coming next. The teacher turned back to the class. "We're not moving on until this is resolved," she said firmly. She looked at the poor girl. "You will explain yourself, clearly, right now." The poor girl stood frozen, her heart pounding so hard it hurt. "I already told you," she said softly. "I didn't cheat." The teacher shook her head. "This isn't about what you say. It's about what we can see." She lifted the papers again. Identical answers, same order, same mistakes. The poor girl stared at the floor. She felt the room pressing in on her from every direction. The teacher lowered her voice. "You can either confess here, or we handle this officially." The word hung in the air. Officially. The poor girl's mind raced. She imagined being pulled out of class, the phone call home, her sister's tired face. She imagined being labeled forever. Her hands clenched at her sides. "I just want this to stop," she whispered. The teacher nodded slightly. "Then tell the truth," she said. The poor girl swallowed. Her voice barely came out. "I cheated." A low murmur filled the room. The teacher exhaled, satisfied. "There, that wasn't so difficult." She turned to the class. "Let this be a lesson. Cheating always comes out." The poor girl felt heat rush to her face. Her chest tightened. She couldn't breathe properly. She stared at the floor again. That was when she saw it. The folded paper under the popular girl's desk shifted slightly. Just enough. The poor girl recognized the tear at the corner. The same tear. Her heart skipped. She lifted her eyes slowly. The popular girl was pale now. Her fingers trembled as she pressed her foot against the paper, trying to hide it. Too late. The poor girl took a breath. "I can explain something," she said suddenly. The teacher frowned. "We're done here," she replied. The poor girl shook her head. "That paper," she said quietly, pointing, "under her desk." The room went still. The popular girl froze. The teacher turned. "What paper?" she asked. The popular girl didn't move. The silence stretched. And for the first time since the accusation began, the teacher hesitated. The teacher walked slowly toward the popular girl's desk. The room felt frozen. "Move your foot," the teacher said. The popular girl didn't answer. "I said move," the teacher repeated, louder now. Slowly, the popular girl lifted her foot. The folded paper slid into full view. The teacher bent down and picked it up. Her expression changed the moment she unfolded it. The class leaned forward. "This is an answer sheet," the teacher said quietly. The poor girl looked up. "That's how I solve the questions," she said. "That's my work." The teacher looked between the paper and the test. Her jaw tightened. "These notes," she said slowly, "are written before the test began." A murmur filled the room. The popular girl shook her head. "That's not," she started. The teacher raised her hand. "Stop," she said sharply. She turned to the class. Everyone remained seated. Then she looked back at the poor girl. "You said you studied late," she said. "Explain how you solved question 3. The poor girl answered immediately, step by step. Calm, clear. The teacher's face grew pale. She turned to the popular girl. "Now you," she said, "explain the same question." The popular girl hesitated. Her mouth opened, then closed. I don't remember," she said. The silence was heavy. The teacher straightened. "We're going to the principal's office," she said. "Both of you." As they walked toward the door, the poor girl felt something she hadn't felt all day. Not relief, not victory, but certainty. The truth was no longer quiet. The principal's office was silent. The popular girl sat stiffly in the chair, her eyes fixed on the floor. The teacher stood nearby, arms crossed, no longer confident. The poor girl stood quietly by the door, her hands still shaking. On the desk, the test papers lay side by side, and between them, the folded answer sheet. The principal adjusted his glasses. "You forced a confession," he said calmly, looking at the teacher, "before verifying the facts." The teacher opened her mouth, then closed it. The principal turned to the poor girl. "Explain how you studied," he said. She did, slowly, clearly, without fear this time. The principal nodded. Then he turned to the popular girl. "Where did this paper come from?" he asked. Silence. Her foot tapped nervously against the floor. "I just found it," she muttered. The principal leaned back. "You planted it," he said, "and let someone else take the blame." Tears filled the popular girl's eyes. She didn't deny it. The teacher looked down. Back in the classroom, the principal addressed everyone. No student should ever be forced to confess to something they didn't do, and no accusation stands without proof. The poor girl stood at the front of the room, not as punishment, but as truth. No one laughed, no one whispered. The popular girl was escorted out. The teacher apologized, quietly, publicly. The bell rang. Students left in silence. That afternoon, the poor girl walked home slowly. Her older sister waited at the door. "I heard," she said. The poor girl nodded. Nothing more was needed, because the truth had finally been spoken, and this time it stayed.